Howdy boys and girls, welcome to Mr. Herring's online math lessons. Today we are continuing our math unit on fractions. We will be multiplying fractions by whole numbers without a model. So my guided question, how can you find the product of a fraction and a whole number without using a model? So today I can find the product of a fraction and a whole number using the standard algorithm. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So in your notes, in your journal, on page 56 or so, you should find the blue notes page that looks something like this. We are going to learn how to use that algorithm, and it's really simple, right? So we start with the problem 3 times 2/5. You'll notice that the whole number 3 is a whole number, not a fraction. So what I like to teach my students is a fundamental, make it a fraction. So put it over 1. So then we have 3 over 1 times 2 over 5. Now they kind of match. So then what's left to do is multiply the numerators, then multiply the denominators. Okay, so for the first time, we're actually going to be doing something with that denominator. So we start with 3 times 2, and then we have 1 times 5. Well, 3 times 2 equals 6, and 1 times 5 equals 5. And then the only thing left to do is change it to a mixed number in its simplest form. So 5 over 6 equals what mixed number? So how many groups of 5 can I make out of 6? Of course, it's only 1. And 6 minus 5 is 1 left over out of 5. So the answer is 1 and 1/5. I can always check that by doing the reverse, change it to a improper fraction. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6 over 5. That's what I had to start with. And it really is that simple. Add a 1 and multiply. That's all you have to do, okay? Multiply the top by the top, the bottom by the bottom, and then you get your answer, okay? So let's go ahead and practice some of that. So under that blue notes page, you have all that light line space. Go ahead and write these problems, use that space to do the work. So 2/3 times 5. So we add a 1 and multiply. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 1 is 3. So how many groups of 3 can I make from 10? 3, 6, 9. That would be 3 groups with 10 minus 9 is 1 left over 3. And if I check that, 3 and 1/3, 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10 over 3. So it checks out, right? If you need to slow me down, just put pause. If not, I'm going to keep on going. 6 times 2/3, okay? Add a 1 and multiply. 6 times 2 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. Now I'll change that to a mixed number. How many groups of 3 can I make out of 12? This happens to be a whole number, 4 exactly, because 12 divided by 3 equals 4. So 4 is my answer. All right, now let's look at a word problem. So Charlene has 5 1-pound bags of different colored sands. For an art project, she will use 3/8 pound of each bag of sand to create a colorful sand art jar. My question is, how much sand will be in Charlene's sand art jar? So the key word here, she has 5 1-pound bags and she uses 3/8 of them. So she has a total of 5 pounds. So she uses 3/8 of that 5 pounds. So I multiply that, add a 1, and then multiply. 3 times 5 is 15. 8 times 1 is 8. And 15/8, how many groups of 8 can I make out of 15? Ooh, I can almost make 2, but not quite. I get 1 with 7 left over because 15 minus 8 is 7 out of 8. So she uses 1 7/8 pounds of sand. Okay, nice work. Keep going. 5/7 times 4. So add a 1 and multiply. 5 times 4 is 20. 7 times 1 is 7. Well, again, how many groups of 7 can I make out of 20? 7, 14, 21. 21 is too much, so 2 groups with how much left over? I needed one more to get 21, so 7 minus 1 is 6 over 7. So they almost had enough to make that third group. All right, another word problem. The caterer wants to have enough turkey to feed 24 people. If he wants to provide 3/4 of a pound of turkey for each person, how much turkey does he need? The question is, how much turkey does he need? There are 24 people. Each people will eat 3/4 of a pound, so 24 times 3/4. This is a pretty big one. Add a 1. So 24 times 3, 20, 40, 60, plus 12 is 72. And 1 times 4 is 4. So now I have to either find how many groups of 4 can I make of 72, or just divide. So over here I have room. I'm going to go ahead and divide. 4 goes into 7 one time with 3 left over. Bring down the 2. 4 goes into 32 8 times, which gives me 32. So the total is 18. It's a whole number. So C is my answer. I liked how they worked out. Sometimes it works out that way. If you look at my choices, there's only 2 reasonable answers, 18 and 6. 72 couldn't be 72 because that's what I started with. Couldn't be 24 because that's what I started with. All right, here's another word problem. Kristen brought in 4 loaves of bread to make sandwiches for the class picnic. Her classmates used 2/3 of the bread. My question is, how many loaves of bread were used? So she used 2/3 of 4 loaves. So add a 1, multiply. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 1 is 3. I've got 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many groups of 3 can I make? 1. 2 groups with 2 left over. So the answer is 2 groups with 2 left over out of 3. 2 and 2/3 loaves were used. All right. Okay, Doug has 33 feet of rope. He wants to use 2/3 of it for his canoe. So how many feet of rope will he use for his canoe? He will use 2/3 of 33 feet. So I add a 1 and multiply. 2 times 33 is 66. 3 times 1 is 3. You should recognize this. Both numbers, 6 and 6, are each factor or multiples of 3. So 3 goes into 6 2 times. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 66 divided by 3 is 22. So the answer is 22 feet of rope. B is my answer. All right. Okay, trying one more. A heavy-duty snowmaking machine makes 3/4 inches of snow each minute. How many inches of snow can the machine make in 8 minutes? So this is repeat addition. 8 groups of 3/4, or 8 times 3/4. Add a 1. 8 times 3 is 24. 1 times 4 is 4. What is 24 divided by 4? How many groups of 4 can I make from 24? The answer is 6 inches. All right, nice job. Okay, so that is basically how we multiply whole numbers by fractions using an algorithm. All right. So now let's look at a multi-step problem. So this is what we know. Patty wants to run 5/6 of a mile every day for 5 days. Keisha wants to run 3/4 of a mile every day for 6 days. My question is, who will run the greater distance? So let's start with Patty. Wants to run 5/6 of a mile times 5 days. And Keisha wants to run 3/4 of a mile times 6 days. So 5 times 5 is 25. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24 with 1 left over out of 6 miles. So Patty will run 6 and 1 6 mile. 3 times 6 is 18. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 goes in 18 4 times, that's 16. 18 minus 16 is 2 out of 4, which equals 4 and 1/2 miles. So what's bigger? Which one's further, 4 1/2 or 4 1/6? Ask yourself this question. Would you rather have 1/6 of the pie or 1/2 of the pie? Exactly. You want 4 1/2. So Keisha runs further. Right? And that is how we multiply fractions by whole numbers. Remember, add a 1 to the whole number and multiply across the numerator and the denominator. All right? So which has the same product of 2/3 times 8? So this is a multi-step as well. So first find out what is 2/3 times 8. 2/3 times 8 over 1. 2 times 8 is 16. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 goes into 16 5 times with 1 left over out of 3. So which one of these is equal to 5 1/3? That's 35 over 6. 6 goes into 35. 5 times, it matches there. And 5 left over out of 6. 5 6 does not match 1/3, so it can't be A. B, 1 times 13 is 13. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 goes into 13 3 times. That's already not going to match. 3 times 2 is 6. 8 times 1 is 8. 6 8 is not going to give me a whole number because that is 3/4. So it must be D. 1 times 16 is 16. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 goes into 16. 1 time with 7/9. Oh, so neither one of these have the same product. So I guess there is a mistake. Five and 5 6. Did it make a mistake up here? Let's check our work up here. 16 over 3. 5 1/3. So I don't see an answer. I guess there was a mistake in this one. I know it's not B, C, or D. The only one it could have been was this one here. 5 6. No, I don't see an answer. So I guess there's not an answer for that one. Or maybe I made a mistake. All right. Okay. Another multi-step problem. A baker made 5 pounds of icing. He used 4/9 of the icing to decorate cakes. How much of the icing was left over? So a baker made 5 pounds of icing. He used 4/9 of the icing to decorate cakes. So 5/9 was left over. So let's find out what 4/9 of 5 pounds is. That's 20 over 9, which gives me 2 whole and 2/9 left over. If you use 2 and 4/9, he used 4/9 of the icing, so 5/9 was left over. So 2 and 2/9 from 5. So I gotta take 5 minus 2 and 2/9. That turns into a 4. This is 9/9. 4 minus 2 is 2. 9/9 minus 2/9 is 7/9. So 2 and 7/9. The answer is D. Okay. Testing our subtraction of fractions with common denominator skills there.